Ohio property taxes are here to stay. Welcome to Columbus on the Record. I'm Mike Thompson. The effort to abolish Ohio property taxes has failed, at least for now. The group collecting signatures to put an amendment on November's ballot says it has fallen short of the number needed to qualify. The group had to collect at least 415,000 signatures, valid signatures, by July 1st. The leader of the effort said they would not have enough by that date, but the group continues to collect signatures in the hopes of getting on next year's ballot.
As responsible citizens, we want to provide our elected officials with enough time to address the needed spending cuts to the bloated taxing authorities throughout Ohio and the spending priorities of the state legislators. We do not have a problem generating revenue in the state. We have a spending and a fraud, waste, and abuse problem.
Had the question made the ballot, it threatened to overshadow the fall campaign, and if passed, it would eliminate more than $20 billion in tax money that mainly pays for local services like schools. Joe Ingles, do we know, we have a month to go before the deadline, till July 1st,
right,
more or less. Do we know how short they fell?
No. Brian Massey, the person you just heard there, he did not give a number today, but we do know that back in April, they said that they had 305,000 valid signatures. They wanted to get 620,000 signatures because normally you need a pad when you go into this. And so he's not giving the number, but we know it's somewhere between 305,000 and 620.
So, Gene, what do you make of this effort? We have given this campaign a lot of attention. I think lawmakers, elected officials have been looking at it very cautiously. Did we give it too much attention? Did it have a chance to begin with?
It had a chance to completely reshape how politics works at the State House, and I think it's pretty much done that. And the ripple of this is still going on. In talking to House Republicans, I have not discussed this with any Senate Republicans, but House Republicans have expressed a sincere concern that libertarians are out there campaigning on two issues: ending all property taxes immediately and a moratorium on all data centers immediately. And that's speaking to the Republican base, and that's terrifying to these House Republicans.
So did this effort, it's still going, so it could be on the ballot next year. We'll get to that in a moment. But for now, Brian, did it fail because of a lack of sympathy or support for ending property taxes, or did it fail because they didn't have enough money and organization to collect the signatures?
It failed because no one was going to help them. And the fact of the matter is Republicans are, on the one hand, not wanting to say that they're afraid of this and they don't want it to happen, but they don't want it to happen. And what he said has nothing to do with how this process works. The legislature isn't making these spending decisions. These property tax issues are property tax issues that are passed and voted on, by the way, by local communities. And, you know, when you're in a township, for instance, like I am on a trustee level, you've got to make decisions on funding your fire department. There are no other taxes that you can use. So it's really irresponsible. And let me tell you what could happen if they get the signatures next year. Not only will it end property taxes, but
if it passes,
if it were to pass, but the full faith and credit of most of our bonds would go down, which would lead to, as one of the largest states in the country, a major Wall Street problem. We would have complete collapse of a lot of local government, including almost all townships. It would be a disaster, and it has nothing to do with the state legislature.
So the call, as we just heard from Brian Massey, is for lawmakers to do something. They're going to be back in November with this question again. Is there any appetite at the State House to act on property taxes, or is now the pressure off because this isn't going to be on the ballot?
Well, okay, there are some plans that are bills that are out there that can deal with property taxes, but to the extent that it would satisfy the folks who are with the Axe the Tax campaign, there's nothing that's going to basically obliterate property taxes right now.
I think that the only thing that will make Bob and Betty Buckeye happy on this is if property taxes were reduced back to the 2019 level. because in talking to them, that's what they think that this should all do. Now, they've done some interesting reforms that if they had done 15 years ago when this issue people first started talking about, it would have moderated the response on this a lot by now. But they didn't do it. So now they're trying to catch up, and their reforms, while good, just aren't big enough to move the numbers back to 2019, which is what they want.
And Gene, don't you find it fascinating that here we are, Republicans in control for 16 years, fiscal conservatives, and yet they've lost control of property taxes?
It's because they view of the various taxes that are sinful out there, the biggest sin is the income tax. And they've spent every time they can save a dime in state government, they use it to decrease the income tax.
Which increases the property.
Now, you're sitting on the Norwich Township Board of Trustees. One of the criticisms is there's too many government taxing agencies, too many townships, for instance. Is that a way to save property taxes by consolidating with Hilliard and Dublin and Washington Township and Clinton Township and all these townships around the state?
I mean, we already do that. We already are contracted to provide the fire services for Brown Township and have many other dual kinds of things that we do with the city of Hilliard. So that's already happening. But whether we're running the fire department or Hilliard's running the fire department, it's going to cost the same amount of money to run the fire department.
So 20 years ago, I was working with Brookings Metropolitan Department, that think tank, on this issue. And they said to me, Krebsy, you must love government in Ohio because you have so much of it. And when you look at our number of local governments and so many of them having overlapping territories, overlapping services, overlapping duties, what we need to do is like they did for the feds when it came time to start closing military bases, a base realignment and closure process. We need to do one like that in Ohio where we sit down and study and begin to go. We need to consolidate these businesses. Because I'll tell you, townships, and I've been studying this issue for 20 years, townships, villages, municipalities, they're only doing the things they already know to do. They're not doing the things that they don't know about. And there's a lot of stuff that we found with the Local Government Innovation Fund and Council that they could do, but they're not.
Brian, is consolidation inevitable, do you think?
No, I don't think it's inevitable because the costs are the same when it comes to the fire department and running these different things. And I think that it's not going to happen anyways in a Republican governed state because most townships, by the way, are rural townships that Republicans have. It's overwhelmingly Republican.
All right. According to the White House, fraud is a scandalous problem in Ohio. The nation's top law enforcement officers traveled to Columbus this week to say Ohio is a leading location for government fraud. Acting U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche, FBI Director Kash Patel, Medicaid Director Mehmet Oz, and others joined top state officials in announcing 14 indictments charging them with defrauding the government out of $50 million. The cases involved Medicaid fraud, but also COVID relief fraud and a romance fraud scheme.
These numbers are staggering, but just the tip of the iceberg, both here in Ohio and nationwide. Sadly, Ohio is facing some of the most significant fraud schemes in the country.
Officials say the indictments result from a federal and state partnership, and they vow to continue to root out fraud in Ohio and around the country. Joe Ingles, are we really the epicenter of fraud in the United States? It kind of sounded like we are.
Well, if you believe Todd Blanche, we sure are. But, if you look at what they were doing in this news conference, they had 14 different people that they were talking about that were accused of fraud. One of those 14 was Medicaid fraud, which is the thing that we're all hearing about right now, right? The other things were different scams and frauds that we've heard about in the last 3 or 4 years. That romance scam, that's been going on for a long time. The COVID money, the COVID
unemployment
fraud.
funds, yeah.
Yes, the unemployment fraud. That was something that's been going on for years. So this is not, having this news conference and having, 14 people and the arrest of, we're going to go after all this money. The thing is, it's not Medicaid fraud, just Medicaid fraud.
Now, Gene, Ohio has got a scandalous amount of fraud, and two people who are on that stage are kind of in charge of overseeing or investigating fraud. The state auditor, Keith
Right.
Faber, the attorney general, ingoing outgoing Dave Yost, incoming Attorney General. Where are they in all this? They've been there for 7.5 years.
Right. And so when I discussed this with my neighbors and relatives back home, basically it's kind of like a variation of you pour water on a rock, it looks wet, and nothing really soaks in. They're not paying that much attention to this issue for a bunch, I think, of really surprising issues. They just view all this government is, well, it's just naturally corrupt. Yeah. What do you mean you're pointing out more corruption? And they would turn to me and go, well, Krebsy, your people have been in charge. And I go, well, yeah, but they're the ones bringing it out. But why weren't they on top of this? And so, yeah. But here's the thing, though: it's not gaining any traction. What it is that now there's not enough local news, and they're not getting the full amount of stuff from the local generation. And frankly, ever since Miami University closed down WMUB 20 years ago, my local people have lost a whole important sort of local input.
That's a whole nother show.
So, Brian,
it is.
What's driving this? Is it these social media folks going around to Northeast Franklin County with their cameras to the daycare centers and to the Medicaid, home health care agencies and seeing nobody there?
What's driving it is Minnesota. What's driving it is picking on xenophobia because they're going after Medicaid providers that just happen to be, people that have foreign names. What's really happening here is trying to be political about it. I mean, why was Sprague there? He's the treasurer. He's running for Secretary of State. I mean, the fact of the matter is that for 16 years, both Keith Faber and Dave Yost have been in leadership positions. And if there has been fraud, you guys were the ones that should have been looking at it. And if you were, say, somebody pulled the wool over your eyes, then was it Mike DeWine and John Husted who was there for 6 years? I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Now, Mike DeWine was not at this. He was the only top official who was not there.
He was not.
We don't know why he wasn't there, but he was very conspicuous by his absence.
Yeah, he had something with Dr. Oz the week before that, where Dr. Oz basically said, hey, I trust Governor DeWine when it comes to dealing with Medicaid fraud. Mm-hmm. And so, he's spoken on the issue, but he was not at this press conference, and I don't know what he was doing that day. But
perhaps the real romance fraud was Dr. Oz and Mike DeWine, because somebody there was responsible for overlooking this fraud.
Well, Mike DeWine posted, he says since 2011, they have more than 2,000 indictments involving alleged Medicaid fraud since 2011. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, he points out to the fact that there have been indictments.
And they've been going after this. This is why, I mean, it's just like with House Bill 6. My neighbors and relatives they go, well, of course the utilities were bribing people. That's how this goes to, we'll talk more about this, but it's how they view corporations. Yep. And it's increasingly, and this just terrifies me, it's just becoming very much a class-driven discussion, and that just terrifies me. Because it empowers people like your people, like Bernie Sanders and AOC and all that, to have this type of class warfare going on. And I know of nothing more destructive.
So, Brian, you're not empowering me.
Well,
go ahead.
Could Democrats, I mean, following the nuclear bailout scandal, $60 million bribery scandal, we have $50 million in fraud here. You could, if you're a Democratic ad maker, you could make something with culture of corruption or with the Republican control, right?
Absolutely, and I think that you're seeing that at the polls. I think people are tired of government. They see the overreach of things like what Trump is doing. They have cynicism about it. You have people in rural areas that are seeing this, that are starting to turn off about data centers. So this is going to be a very interesting year for Republicans.
I'd like to remind people that when you go back to Nan Whaley's gubernatorial campaign, she talked a lot about, House Bill 6, about the energy scandal. It's not that Democrats haven't talked about it. It's the way that they've talked about it and the way that that's resonated with the community. It's a totally different thing.
Of course, Republicans will argue that rules put in place by the Biden administration led to a lot of this fraud. They loosened the rules, but, who knows? Anyway, for years, Ohio State has fought hard to limit the financial damage of the sex abuse committed by former OSU team doctor Richard Strauss. This week came word the fight nears an end. In a surprise last-minute announcement, the OSU Board of Trustees agreed in principle to settle most of the remaining claims of hundreds of men abused by Strauss for $100 million.
The survivors of the Strauss abuse are all Buckeyes. Will always be a part of our family and our community, and I firmly believe that. We continue to be very grateful to them for their courage in coming forward, and reaching a final resolution is very important to us and is an important step forward.
This $100 million is on top of the $61 million OSU already agreed to pay more than 300 other people abused by Strauss. That settlement came in 2020. OSU officials declined to provide additional details, pointing to confidentiality requirements set by a federal judge. Brian Rothenberg, it was 8 years ago this abuse came to light. Why is it taking so long, and why settle it now?
Well, it should have been settled a long time ago. If you looked at what happened in Michigan and at Penn State, they didn't take this long. I think that it's about time they get all these things settled. I've said that before on this show. The thing that concerns me about it is Ohio State is still not being transparent about it. They're saying it's not coming from tuition. They're saying it's not coming from other funds that are generated by folks, but they're not saying where the funds are being generated from. And they are a public institution. And I think they haven't learned that transparency piece, and that's what concerns me.
Yeah, OSU says that no taxpayer money, no tuition money, and no donor-directed funds will be used for the settlement. Of course, there are donors that don't direct their money, so that conceivably could be where it's coming from. Gene, why settle now? There's been a couple court decisions that went against Ohio State in recent months. Les Wexner was going to have to be deposed if he hasn't been deposed already.
Right.
They widened the pool. 30 football players joined the suit a couple months ago.
Police chiefs. I mean, it's just been a massive PR disaster that I assume that there'll be someday teaching in communication classes at The Ohio State University on how not to handle a crisis. They should have dealt with it, as Brian said, quickly, early, thoroughly, fully, and they didn't. And I'm still just baffled. I mean, my dad went to Ohio State, and I'm just baffled at how they've been handling this whole thing still.
It's still Michigan State and Michigan, similar sex abuse cases there. You could argue worse there than here, but similar cases. They settled for $500 million each. OSU is going to be in the range of $170 million total. So it's less than those two universities.
Yeah, but if you talk to and listen to what the folks who have been abused are saying, they really wanted changes more than money. And that was where the rubber hit the road on this. They were just wanting changes to the system so that it didn't happen again. And we don't know all the details. I have a lot of questions in that realm as far as, what was promised, what is the university going to do to make sure this doesn't happen again, what safeguards are in place. Those are all important questions that we're still waiting to see the answers to those.
There's been a lot of other recent bad news for OSU. The President Carter, sudden resignation, mini scandal there. Of course, the Les Wexner, Jeffrey Epstein ties and what the university should do about that. This is just one thing to get off their plate, at least for now, right, Jim?
Yeah, supposedly corporations, which is what Ohio State University is now, let's face it, it's a megacorp. They're supposed to have a self-correcting system involved. And they're supposed to, at the end of all my staff meetings, when I had staff, I'd always ask the same question: what are we missing? And I'm not getting the sense that has been asked until quite recently at Ohio State, of asking the question of what are we missing? How are we not handling this? What needs to go on? And it goes back to what he said, Joe, they should have just, here's what we need to do. Here's a here's a formal action statement. We're going to move forward with reforms, and they've been stonewalling.
Having lived through this, and I was in a large organization that went through some federal investigations as the spokesperson, and it's not just the going after the person that did the wrongdoing. It is putting those safeguards in place. It is changing the culture so that when someone is taken seriously when something like this arises. And in this case, there's an added cultural problem, which is when it comes to molesting of males, they're reluctant to step forward, and that was a big part of this problem.
And more of those men did come forward, and it built the momentum, I think, for the settlement. Plus a change in leadership, don't forget that. New chair of the Board of Trustees coming on board, new president. You never know how much of that played into it as well. Anyway, in many corners of Ohio, data centers have become public enemy number one. Opponents claim the warehouses filled with computers will increase electric bills, drain water supplies, and reduce farmland. Now, tech companies are fighting back, at least a little. As Signal Ohio first reported, tech companies have hired dozens of lobbyists at the State House and will spend more than $10,000 on digital ads touting the benefits of data centers. They argue the facilities create construction jobs and lead to other tech-related jobs, spin-off jobs. The move comes as Governor DeWine has suspended a tax break for data center builders. Gene Krebs, will this PR effort work? Will it convince your neighbors and your relatives that data centers are good for them?
It will not. And for the simple reason, like I said before, this has been, unfortunately, and this is going to be really tough, is that this has been internally framed by my people as a class conflict. It's the poor rural folks against the big city billionaires from the coast are coming in and they're buying our farmland. And I ask them, so what is it you'd like to do? You know, how would you like me to communicate this to the city folks? And they say, put a data center in Schiller Park. Okay, in other words, you're going to take up our green space. How would you feel if it was going into your green space? And
But now, Brian, there are data centers being built in your neck of the woods, in the Hilliard area.
Actually, right next to a park. So yes, it does happen.
but they're not taking the park.
Well, here's the rub. So, we've tried. We don't have authority over permitting, but what we have done is put together a series of things that we want to make our folks comfortable. We've asked for third-party testing that anybody in the public can see inside and outside the plant. We've asked for them to share the plans with the fire department. We've asked for disbursement bonds in case they leave so that we don't have to pay for what's left over. They will not agree to the air testing. In fact, they actually passed the air permit without ever approaching the township. My predecessors on the township trustees, they just passed it. They will not share plans with the fire department because they say the plans are top secret. So my first responders are going to go in and try to put out a fire and put themselves at risk.
This is similar, Joe, to what we heard with the fracking wells. They weren't going to tell you what chemicals they were putting into the ground because it was proprietary.
Exactly, and going back to what Gene's saying, a lot of people who are in these areas sitting outside of Columbus where they have farm space, where they have green fields, they're very skeptical because they've seen these other things act out in the last 2 decades.
Factory farms.
Yes, factory. I live in Delaware County, and it's the same thing up there. There's big debate about this, and the 23 bypass.
And nobody trusts their institutions anymore. That's been my big takeaway of the past year and a half of looking at these types of issues. Nobody trusts their institutions anymore.
And it's hard because I want to go talk to those people that live near this and tell them you're safe. Your air is safe. The first responders can take care of this. I can't do that.
So computers are here to stay.
Right.
There's reports this week in the Wall Street Journal that the tech companies are worried we don't have enough data centers, so there's going to be continued pressure to build these things. Technology will improve at some point where they'll get smaller. We'll need smaller computers to process this data. But they're here, and they're going to continue to grow. So what's the solution?
Transparency. The only thing that I've gotten in the 6 months I've been a trustee from AWS, from Amazon, is a blank letter saying they're going to cooperate with us, unsigned by anybody, not from any department, just an email.
Are state lawmakers willing to tighten up regulations on data centers, or does that go against their sort of business-friendly approach?
No, it depends on the state lawmaker, to be quite honest. But there are some state lawmakers who are willing to go ahead right now and do that. But then we're also hearing the Chamber of Commerce. We're hearing other organizations that have a lot of clout at the State House. And they're saying, even unions are saying, these are jobs that are important to the future of our communities.
Right, we got to get to our final off-the-record parting shots, and Brian Rothenberg up first.
This is a simple one, but Flag Day is coming up, and I just want to remind people, if you have a flag and it's out of commission, go to your American Legion Hall, go to the Boy Scouts, dispose of it properly.
All right. Gene?
I'm in the Cincinnati media market, so I got exposed to all the Brian Massey ads when he got booted out, lost his primary. I saw him on the Talking Head shows the following Sunday. He was unnaturally happy, and I started doing a little bit of digging. I sincerely believe that in 2028 he runs for president on the Libertarian ticket, and that will have huge, sad implications for my people.
This is the Kentucky congressman who lost his primary.
Yeah.
Joe.
Okay, well, there's a bill at the State House that's not moving. It has to deal with taking the age for getting married in Ohio, which is now 17, taking that up to 18 so that you can't get married as a child. And you would think that this would have support, but no one's speaking out against it. Still, it's not passing. So there's a lot of, this week there's been a lot of questions about that one.
So no ballot question this November on property taxes, maybe one next year, but I predict even if there is this one, it doesn't make the ballot next year. There will be a ballot question in Ohio in the next 5 years or so to limit property taxes if lawmakers do not do something about it themselves. That is Columbus on the Record for this week. Reminder, check us out on YouTube, the new WOSU News YouTube page. There you can see and share every episode of this program. Go to YouTube and search WOSU News, and there you can see all of our stuff and other stuff from WOSU News. And you can watch us on demand at our website, WOSU.org, and the PBS app. For our crew and our panel, I'm Mike Thompson. Have a good week.